The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Hey, we're glad you're tuning in. We're excited about today's show. We've got some special guests with us, and I'm going to rattle off a few titles here. So Much for Pretending, Rebecca Lynn, Someone Else's Star, Sitting on Go. Those are all number ones by Bryan White, and Bryan White is with us today.
Man, this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Glad you're here, Bryan.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, Mr. Don King's in the house helping us deal the cards here around the poker table.
Thanks for working me into the shuffle here. I appreciate it, Jason.
We'll try to work in some of that poker terminology.
Yeah, I know it since we're
week.
gathered around a poker table, just for visual for the folks listening in.
Yeah, don't forget to listen. We're on iTunes, we're on WSM, we're on a lot of radio stations around Tennessee.
That's
We're
right.
in Tennessee, but anywhere a podcast can be found, you can find us there. So.
More all the time, too.
Yep, we're growing. Now, you actually visited one a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's
I think.
right. WPG in South Pittsburgh will be joining us coming up real soon. So
Awesome.
more news about that.
You need to get out and do more of that. So.
I know. I know
Get a
it.
few more stations. That'd be nice.
Hey, what about our other guest?
Yeah, Johnny Allred. He's the development director for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation. Glad to have him here as
for
well.
having
So him and Bryan are
Yeah, if
pretty
it
good
wasn't for
buddies.
Johnny, we wouldn't have Bryan here today. So, hey, kudos to Johnny.
Yeah. But they hunt together and enjoy the outdoors together. But we're going to learn a little bit about Bryan today and chat about something he's trying to organize and get going to help raise some money for the agency and the foundation. And we'll talk country music and the outdoors.
Heck yeah, that's a good combination.
Yeah, I think so. We need to do more of this.
Yeah.
So, Bryan, tell us about, let's jump into the concert and contest that you're trying to promote and wanting to get going and learn about that right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I was telling you earlier when I walked in that it's everything I've ever done has been music related up until this point, and I've always in the back of my mind wanted to have my own event which was related to the outdoors, and so it just things have kind of transpired this year, and thanks to Johnny and Bass Pro Shops, and I'm finally going to be able to do this October 13th. It's just going to be a big buck contest, and I'm calling it Tennessee Giants.
Okay.
It's going to be an opportunity for anyone who harvested or believes they harvested a big whitetail buck in the state of Tennessee. They can come and enter it. Obviously, previously scored up until they get there, and they can enter, and the top three wins a $100 gift certificate to Bass Pro, and they get to kind of share their story of their harvest on stage with me. I'm going to be hosting the event. I'm going to be singing. I'm going to be doing an acoustic show with some of my band, and probably we'll have a couple special guests that are artist friends of mine that love the outdoors as well get up and sing. So.
No telling who that might be.
Yeah.
We'll keep that a secret, right?
We might get Don to get up and
Oh, you
do
never
one.
know. You never know.
Yeah.
So I'm really, I cannot tell you how excited I am to be doing an event like this. I hope it's a success in that it can grow into something even bigger in the years to come. So
Awesome. So, yeah, that's October 13th, 2019. It's a big buck contest called what again?
Tennessee Giants.
Tennessee Giants. I like the sound of that.
And that's the Bass Pro in Nashville. They're gonna
Yes, sir.
It's going to be happening there. And
Yes, sir.
Like you said, $25 entry fee. Youth are free to enter.
Yes, sir.
And did you say it had to be scored before you get there? Is that the
That's
case?
what we.
Well, I think you score it before you get there. I mean, if it's not officially scored, if they win, you will have it officially scored.
We'll have some folks there to help.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can bring anything in and say that's a 150-inch deer, but somebody will say, well, let me look at that.
Let's verify that.
Yeah. And also a special, which thanks to Johnny, and I wanted to say a special thank you to Jim Osborne and Brandon and those guys at Bass Pro for being so willing to jump in on this with us.
Yeah.
So,
I think it'll be a cool event. It'll be fun. I have to make sure I can get there.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Folks may not know who Bryan White is, but I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I know. If you've listened to the radio in the last year or two, or dating back to the 90s for sure.
Yeah. Bryan's been around a long time, done a lot of great things, had a lot of great songs out there. Just tell us how you got introduced into the music industry.
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma City, and I kind of got it honest. My parents are, they were playing music out of the womb, and so I kind of got that from them. They played the whole circuit when I was growing up, and I eventually, once I kind of got bit by the bug, I started playing drums like Jason here. I started playing drums in my dad's band early on, probably, I don't know, 14 years old, something like that.
That's cool.
And I was singing, but I was kind of a closet singer. I was kind of scared to kind of get out and do that. And my mom was sort of a little bit of a motivator of me actually getting out front of the kit and starting to sing. So I grew up around music and in music, and then eventually in my latter high school years, I started really getting serious about wanting to be an artist and moved to Nashville. And I had a couple of connections in Oklahoma City that ultimately were the direct link to Nashville for me. And I took a couple of trips up before I graduated and met with a couple of people and had my granddad's credit card and his Lincoln Continental. and I met a guy named Billy Joe Walker Jr., and he was a world-renowned guitarist. And produced a ton of records, played on everything. And he kind of took me under his wing and told me, I really had a shot at it. And so I moved up here right after I graduated from high school, and Billy and I started kind of developing me, and I stayed with him and his wife, and and then kind of a snowball effect. We just kind of worked until we started getting some interest. I sang demos for a long time. That's kind of how I made a living, was singing demos for songwriters.
Yeah.
I remember back then it was $40 a pop.
Yeah.
I'd get a phone call on my Codaphone or voice or what do we call them? The answer machines back then. And it'd be like somebody from Little Big Town Music. Hey, Bryan, we need you to come by and pick up a demo and figure out what key it's in and tell us the key, and we'll track it in the right key.
And by the way, can you do a harmony part with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of how I cut my teeth, was doing demo work. And then Billy, God bless him, he's no longer with us, but he was one of those guys that he did all that early development stuff with me on his own dime, you know. And so, and then I eventually got a deal and signed a publishing contract with Glenn Campbell Music and started writing for Glenn's company. And
awesome,
so
that's neat.
So a lot of number ones, we mentioned them earlier. So Much for Pretending, Rebecca Lynn, Someone Else's Star, Sitting on Go. But you've had other hits like you sang with Shania Twain on From This Moment. God Gave Me You was another one, and a lot of those I was just checking down.
I wonder how many weddings that song is played.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm sure.
Right.
But tell us what it was like to play with Shania.
Well, I was playing a show. I think I was in Chicago, and back then, let's see, I would have been 24, maybe 23, 24, and back then I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. I would literally sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Somebody'd have to wake me up to go to sound check. I mean,
I remember those days.
Yeah, man. And so I got a phone call. The tour manager walked in and pulled my curtain back on my bunk and woke me up, and it was early in the morning. And early for me then, it was probably 10 or 11, and I was like, what is going on? And it was Mutt Lange and Shania Twain on the phone, and they were right in the middle of kind of putting the finishing touches on writing that song. And so they just said, hey, we're a big fan of your voice. We think you'd be great on this duet. Would you be willing to? Obviously, I said yes. And then they started singing it to me, and they wanted me to sing it back to them over the phone because they were trying to key it up. They were kind of fast tracking it. They were ready to. They probably already had the session booked, but they wanted to know. It's kind of like the demo days. They were trying to find the right key for me.
Make sure you get it in the right key.
Yeah, and then so answering your question, I ended up a couple weeks later flew up to Lake Placid, New York, where they had a big compound and studio, and I spent the better part of 3 days up there doing vocals with her, and MTV and VH1 were there, and I mean it was a pretty epic experience, and not to mention being able to be in the same room with such an amazing producer like Mutt Lange.
Yeah.
I mean, the history with that guy. I mean, the track record.
Yeah.
But it was incredible. I was really thrilled. I knew when I was doing it that this was a very unique situation that not a lot of people find themselves in.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of voices out there, and yours was the one that they liked. That's
and they
awesome.
seek you out
Yeah.
too. So that's really saying something, right?
Well,
there.
and the pressure that comes with that too. You're like flying out there. I was like, boy, I need to dial it in. This can't suck. But my wife read me an article a couple of days ago that I had no idea. But this is on her Wikipedia for that song. The first person that they thought of for that duet was Elton John.
Huh.
So
Wow.
they were gonna they thought about him, and then Shania somehow, I don't know what changed her mind. I don't know if she hadn't heard me until a certain point or what, but they jumped ship on Elton and called me. So I'm like, all right, great.
Second to Elton, that's pretty good.
I know.
Story.
Yeah.
That's neat.
You mentioned your wife. Tell us about your wife. Johnny slipped me a note while y'all were chatting earlier. Erica Page, superstar, an actress.
Well, she's a superstar mom, I'll tell you that, and a superstar wife. I won the lottery with her. She's most known for One Life to Live, the soap. She was on that soap for a long time, but also she did a lot of work for lots of different shows and lot of daytime stuff, Days and Bold and the Beautiful, but she also did movies of the week with lots of different people and.
Cool.
And she's an amazing actress, but she's an incredible mom and a great wife too.
And you got a couple of kids, right?
Yep, I do. I got 2 teenage boys, a 14-year-old and one that'll be 16 this October.
Not
Y'all
kids anymore.
Keep me in your prayers.
Yeah. So
And they're hunters.
that's what I was trying
There you
to
go.
lead that way.
Yes, sir.
You guys hunt together. You and Johnny hunt together, and you get your kids outdoors. Tell us about how y'all met. And
Well, we probably met, I don't know what year that was, when I was doing the North American Sportsman with Gary Morris.
Okay.
And we really didn't know each other then. And then, we would hear each other's name back and forth through Gary or other artists and things like that where we'd done. And I don't know when it started. We actually,
Where I think we got connected again was, at least I don't know if I'm wrong here, but I remember you called me. I mean, it's been, I don't know how many years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and you called me about the Governor's One Shot.
Oh, that was when it was in Pulaski. That was like 15 years
Yeah.
ago.
Maybe
Yeah.
so.
It was a long
Time
time
flies.
ago.
Well, but it was not just one time. You called me several times, and I wasn't able to do it. I was always out of town, and then eventually I was able to start doing them and attending them, and one thing led to another,
Yeah.
and we were kind of just reconnected. So.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So y'all hunt down and around Johnny's neck of the woods, I'm sure. And so what's some of the best hunts y'all have been on together?
Well, he
What's
got
one
to
of the-
do his first long range shooting with
Oh,
me last
man.
year.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
He'd never done that before, and we were going to go shoot some deer, and he said, I'm not much over 100 yards. That's kind of out of that. And I said, no,
Yeah.
you'll be good.
That's
You'll
the
be
way I
fine.
am.
You'll be fine. And we were using some of the best of the West equipment and Huskama optics, and he got to stretch it out there about 500 yards, and he kind
Wow.
of liked it. He said, let's do that again. Let's go do
Wow.
that again. Let's go do that again. So,
If you got the
Man.
right equipment, you can dial it
oh
in.
yeah, it's just it's nothing to it once you get the right equipment and learn how to do it. And he killed, I don't know, 3, I think,
Yeah.
between 400 and 500 yards last year. So.
Man, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was just way too cool. Way too cool.
So did you grow up hunting at all in Oklahoma?
I'm glad you asked me that because I did not grow up hunting, believe it or not. My dad was a big time fisherman, so that I fancied myself most of my life as a fisherman. I mean, hardcore fisherman, and we didn't have enough money for to have a boat. Well, one time my dad bought a boat and tried to restore it, and it's not a great story. It didn't work out well, but lots of getting stuck on the lake kind of stuff, which I love those memories. But and we spent a lot of time on lakes, and I was a pond hopping kid growing up, but we did a little bit of small game hunting growing up. We would cottontail hunt, and we would squirrel hunt a little bit. And I did do a lot of squirrel hunting with a lot of my mom's side of the family, my relatives in near Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But really, that was the extent of it. And I I got a call from my brother. It's probably maybe almost been 13 to 15 years ago now. My brother called me and he goes, "Man, you want to go down to West Texas to do a turkey hunt with Jimmy Sites?" And he's got a show called Spiritual Outdoor Adventures.
Okay.
And he's a great friend of mine. And I said, "Yeah, let's go." Because kind of what lured me, pardon the pun, but there was going to be these big giant stock tanks on this ranch down there. We were also going to get to go do hog hunt and
wow.
go bass fish. It was like Disneyland, you know.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Yeah," and I really didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew it was going to be a good chance to get away. My brother lived in Austin at the time, so he drove over to meet me, and we harvested our first turkey the same day, and I had never experienced anything like that. I mean, ever. And I think from that day forward, I literally just it was like opening up a Pandora's box. I was done at that point. So yeah, I did not grow up necessarily hunting, but you know, from that moment forward, I've been a hardcore hunter. So
it's amazing. Turkey hunting will draw you. I mean, that'll lock you in.
Oh, yeah.
It's much different than deer hunting. You're looking for those guys and tracking them down and calling them, and just adrenaline.
It's addictive.
But I mean,
Yeah.
a deer walking up under your stand will get your heart pumping too. But
Yeah.
I didn't get to turkey hunting until I moved to Middle Tennessee. You know, there's not a lot of turkeys out in West or East Tennessee where I grew up. So
Wow.
once I bagged my first turkey, I was hooked. So it's fun.
yeah.
So what would you tell somebody that wants to get into the outdoors at a later time in their life, like you did? I mean, is it easy? Would you encourage them to get out there and
Oh man, I would
give
say
it a shot?
I would say absolutely. Find somebody that is passionate about the outdoors and has a little bit of experience under their belt.
like Johnny or somebody?
Yeah,
to
exactly. And just and you know, even if you don't know much about it and you have at least an inch of curiosity, go hang out in the woods with somebody and just sit with somebody sometime. And I just can't imagine you not being impacted to some degree
Right.
by being out there. You know, it's an amazing world. It's an amazing community of people. That's what I think I love the most about it. I mean, it's like when you're sitting on a plane and you're sitting next to somebody, and sometimes it just takes one little key word about the outdoors or something, and when you find that commonality with somebody else, it's like you could sit there and talk for 3 hours and share stories back and forth. It's, and just I'm still blown away by all the landowners that are so amazing and so willing to allow hunters to come out and hunt their property and bring their kids so yeah, I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just awesome. I can't believe I missed out on so much of it in my early part of my life.
Every hunter I know is so willing to share that special thing. You know, they're willing to mentor
And we need
people.
to. We need to be mentoring
Exactly.
kids. I mean,
Yeah.
go find a kid out of your demographic and just that wouldn't have had an opportunity to go. Just pull them out and take them fishing, take them squirrel hunting, take them deer hunting one
Right.
time. And it only takes a couple times and they're hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't not do it. I mean,
Right.
once you get the bug, you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one thing I will say that I have learned in hindsight is the early days of me taking my kids out. I wished I had more. I wish I had made it more of a fun thing. And I can honestly, this is a confession. Like, some of the first few times I took them hunting, I was really hunting for me. And I should have, if I could go back, I wouldn't have cared about making noise. I'd have said, let's just go out and drink Coke, eat candy, whatever. That would be the only thing, if I could go back and fix those first few hunts.
Just be there in the moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, taking young kids, it's hard to keep them out there much past a couple of hours, just if it's cold and that kind of
but
thing.
what fun it is! I was lucky enough.
Yeah.
I got to take Jackson, one of his sons, last year, and he killed a doe with me.
All right.
And he just had a great time. You just see it on his face when he got to harvest something.
Yeah, yeah. So both kids hunt, both kids fish, right? And,
Yes, sir.
And what's some of have they had an opportunity to take a big buck or anything? Or?
nobody has.
Not yet?
They haven't shot a buck yet. No, but they're actually really good fishermen. They love fishing, and we talked about getting a squirrel hunt together this year. We didn't bring it together, but maybe
We
next
still got
year.
time.
Yeah.
We still got time.
Call me if you do. I want to go.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Don loves the squirrel hunt. He talks about growing up and hunting with his dad and all kinds of fun stuff in Nebraska.
Yeah, I think that's a good gateway hunting activity is squirrel hunting,
Yeah.
for sure.
I didn't know we were going to have a corn husker and a sooner in
Yeah.
here this morning.
And a volunteer. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Well, let's. I wanted to hit on this new single you got out. It
Yes,
Must
sir.
Be Love.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tribute to Don Williams. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, he's one of those guys that was always a big influence on me. I'm sure Don would attest
yeah.
to that. I mean, just the songs.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how many number ones that guy had. I'm sure it was over 30. And what a long, illustrious career. The guy didn't say 3 words when he was on stage, you know, and even in interviews, there were yes and no answers, you know.
Right.
But he knew where his wheelhouse was, and it was just sitting on a stool, and his delivery was unlike anybody I know. And he had a big impact. He made a big impact on me, not just as a kid, but even in the latter years. And him passing away a couple of years ago kind of prodded me into thinking about doing a tribute to him. And I wasn't sure what song I was going to do because there's so many of them. You know, the obvious would be like Listen to the Radio or Tulsa Time or I Believe in You. And I know people had kind of done those, and I thought, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do It Must Be Love. I love this song. And I was monkeying around one day in the studio with a new ukulele that I had just bought.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't know how to play it, but I knew how it was tuned, and I was like, man, it can't be that hard. So I started messing around with it and kind of just fell into this islandy kind of vibe, and then one thing led to another, and I started messing around with a track, and
Yeah, it's a real neat video, too.
oh, thanks,
really
man.
Neat.
Yeah, that's just literally just out, maybe a little over a week now. So
Wow.
Yeah,
That ought to do well for you.
Plug the location. I thought that was a neat place.
yeah, I get to do so many cool things. I meet so many really cool and interesting people with what I do. That's probably what I love the most about it. And
Definitely.
I played this show for the city of Seaside Heights, New Jersey, back in June. And I just kind of connected with these people, and you know, we were landlocked, Don, growing up, so there wasn't any. I
Right.
didn't see the ocean, you know, growing up much, and so being on that boardwalk setting is just so different to me, and it's really captivating, and somebody made the kind of just a casual joke of, man, you ought to do your video up here, you know, and I kind of laughed it off and said, boy, wouldn't that be cool, and then they kept kind of prodding me about it. And then one thing led to another, and they started telling me, you know, we've got the access to the whole area and permits for the rides and the whole thing. And so I called I called Andrea, who's directing the video, and I said, well, they're wanting us to do it up here. And so we basically worked it out. They had a school, a film school not far from there, and they all agreed, the kids all agreed to be a part of it because they get a credit for it.
Oh, neat.
So they all came, and it was just incredible how it all fell together, you know.
A lot of times it can be the other way around, can it? You find a location, oh man, I'd love to do it there, and then it's like permits, and you know, and you got to meet all the right people.
Yeah, and it felt so turnkey that I was like, man, I don't think I want to pass up on this
Yeah.
opportunity. So it just worked out really well.
That's great.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Hey, if you're just tuning in, we got Bryan White with us. He's a country music star here in Nashville, Tennessee, and Johnny Allred from the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation. And we're talking hunting and outdoors and music. So it's been a fun show so far. Any other hunting stories you want to share with us? You said you love fishing, love hunting. What's one that stands out that was just the hunt of a lifetime or the trip of a lifetime?
well, gosh, there's so
Put
many
you on
of
the
those.
spot.
Well, this is the first thing I thought of, so I'll tell you this.
Okay.
This may not be the hunt of a lifetime, but it was one of the first major kind of VIP things I ever got invited on. It was in I want to say Wyoming, and I can't remember the name of the lodge, but I was a part of it through the NWTF. I got invited to go do a turkey hunt out there with kind of, it was presidents and CEOs of all these companies. I was the only
Cool.
music guy there. And I didn't take my 12 gauge because it was in the early part of, I just didn't have a lot of knowledge about traveling with a firearm. And so they said, well, your guide will have what you need out here. So I got there a day early, flew into Sioux Falls, South Dakota or something, and drove a 2-hour drive. And so I went out with my guide earlier that day just to go do a little bit of target shooting with the firearm that I was going to shoot.
Get familiar with it.
So the shotgun had a scope on it. You guys already know where this is going. So the first shot at the target, that scope came back and just like a mule kicking me in the head. It split my head wide open. I mean, you can still see the scar right there. And it really scared the crap out of me because I got up and I was kind of, everything was kind of white. My vision was white, and I looked down, and when it cleared up, all I could see was just a pool of blood. And everybody was kind of standing around me, and they had a concerned look on their face. And so they took me to Sundance, which was the closest place to there, and to a plastic surgeon, ER or whatever. And I can't tell you exactly what the doctor said when I walked in, but he said stuff happens, And he did I think he did 15 internal stitches and 15 external stitches. I mean, I looked like Frankenstein. And I got back to camp, and everybody was just poking at me. They nicknamed me Scope, and they were just...
Well, it's happened to everybody.
Well, the worst part of it was I called my wife, and that was the worst part of it. Just relaying the story to her, was bad. But long story short, I went out that night, and I went and hunted. I didn't get a bird, but I went out with my guide the next morning and got a Wyoming turkey. So I had to redeem myself, but so that's one of my early hunting stories there. So
wow.
Everybody's been scoped, and everybody gives you crap when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna. I mean, everybody does.
Yeah. You're not going to get away
Maybe
from
not
that.
bad enough to get stitches, but everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bryan, we appreciate you being here today. Let's plug this once again. October the 13th, 2019, the Big Buck Contest called
Tennessee Giants.
Tennessee Giants at the Bass Pro here in Nashville.
Yes, sir.
It's a $25 entry fee for adults and free for youth to enter. It's for folks who've harvested something in Tennessee. And the top 3 prizes are $100 gift cards. So,
And there'll be a lot more information coming between now and then.
Yes,
details about it. Some of the details haven't quite been worked out yet. But there's also, you've got a really good website that is a good partner for this event.
Yes, sir. I totally forgot to mention that. I have a website that is it's an advocacy website for Tennessee outdoors.
Okay.
It's called TennesseeOutdoorCommunity.com, and it's basically a place for hunters and outdoorsmen here in Tennessee to connect, share their story, share their picture of their harvest, and their score. And it's just a fun place for people to
also
go check
Facebook,
out.
too.
Yeah, it's also Facebook
as well. It just promotes hunting in Tennessee and
just
what we
about-
have here. The bounties that Tennessee has, unlimited.
Yeah, Johnny and I talk a lot about how we don't need to go anywhere. We've got everything we need here in Tennessee.
yeah, definitely. Well, I'll put that in the show notes below.
That's actually where your registry form will be.
Okay.
Is at TennesseeOutdoorCommunity.com is where you'll sign up for this. So.
Awesome. Well, Bryan, we appreciate you. Johnny, appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Don,
Thanks,
thank
Jason.
you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank
We'll
you, guys.
see you next time on Tennessee Wildcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.